So let hypothetically speaking, I'm a financial advisor and estate planner, and I decide that I should work with a company like yours that already has the relationships with these influencers. What's the first question that I should ask you in order to make sure it's the right fit?
Oh, it's a great question. So when I talk to people about this sort of creator economy and social commerce economy that's happening, and they're like, I've tried to work with influencers, as they were called before they were called creators, and it just didn't work out, and they get soured on that idea, even though that is where people's eyeballs are. And the challenge is making sure there's a lot of factors that have to come together. So for your business, you would have to say, okay, Paul, if you're going to bring me a creator to help promote my business, who's the audience of that creator? Is it 12-year-old girls? Well, they're not going to want financial planning, and not going to. Is it people who watch them because they're a train wreck? Well, they're not going to trust them with financial planning advice if their content is all about being a train wreck. So you have to understand, like, what is their content about? What is their audience about? What is their audience's connection to that person based on that content? And then, is it an audience who will buy this kind of product from that person? And so trying to find that match. So it's not going to be, again, somebody who's, a kid throwing soda cans at a wall and watching them explode or whatever, hawking your services or whatever. You might find somebody who's giving stock tips or something like that, or has, programs that are in the finance or business world where the people are watching them to get ideas and get value. And all of a sudden that person is talking about your services, and that fits with who their audience is and why they're listening to them. Like if you're a chef on YouTube, don't come out with, a computer mouse as your product. Come out with a food product to be, or a spice or something like that can be used in cooking. So that way, your audience is already waiting to learn from you and wanting to replicate what you're doing. Give them a tool to do it. They're going to buy that tool. So similarly, and then I would also look at what's the cost to the person, the risk reward. You can go spend $1 million and get a big A-lister who's in the finance world to promote you. Are the people who watch that person going to come to you and buy? Or would you be better off getting, a bunch of people who have 1,000 followers, but they're really core followers who love that person and what they're about? You go get 10 of those and you're spent $10,000 to get, 10,000 people, whatever, like now your risk reward versus, getting that fine-tuned audience and not spending on a wider swath of people, it's probably better off. Again, it was that my example before about would I spend 10 grand when that was a big deal on one shot, or would I get 10 things at 1,000? And in the end, I chose neither, and actually choosing neither in that moment was the better choice. But so here, like if you've got 100 employees or 500 employees in your business, then that's different. You aim for somebody who is the $1 million, fee person. If you're a sole proprietor and you tend to get customers who are just in your, county or your, little area there, then you want hyper targeted people who are famous in your community, and get viewed, and the algorithms will push them because they're local. And in fact, at a certain point, I would even say, talent like that is probably not good for a localized business, because most of social media is national at the very least, if not international. So you're spending to try and target people that, you're too small in a wide, thing. You'd be better off in a weird way getting the old school coupons that go in everybody's mailbox, or, thinking like, how can I go out of the box and get myself in front of where their eyeballs are? And that's really, I always look at that, in a business is, where are your customers' eyeballs? How do they spend their days? What do they look at? What websites are they on? What stores do they go to? Who do they talk to? Like, where do they learn about stuff? So again, with broad-based consumer products, social media is where people learn about products, and watching people promote them, talk about them, use them. And that's, if you've got a national product then yes. If you've got a local product, social media is too national to try in general to go local, unless you can do local targeting ads and things like that.
Yeah. It's definitely about being self-aware and being very intentional about where you're spending your money. And also realizing, all right, if I'm a local company, does it make sense for me to spend all of this money to reach a national audience? Does that even matter to me? And is that important? And it sounds like the way your company leads is with education. And it seems like you're also not you're not afraid to say maybe we're not the right fit, or is that so? If somebody wanted to introduce you to somebody, what's the description of that person? Because what you described was essentially a customer persona. This person's behaviors, this person's demographics, or what are their jobs to be done. And when you have that customer persona, you're able to their age. When you have that customer persona, putting together marketing and going with the right people is easy. Who is your customer persona?
It depends which business we're talking about, and I would say in general, it tends to be small businesses. Somebody who's probably doing $1 million a year to $20-30 million a year. Somebody in that kind of range. You're shipping 20 orders a day, or similarly if it's wholesale, and then we're making product, fulfilling it. Or, you're an A-list celebrity. Obviously, we can help, in that stance. You're a small snack brand, and there's some things we can help there. So it depends on which business.